Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be talking about caching. So let me just write the heading. So what is caching? Let me just create a diagram first. So as you can see, this is our user device. This is the user device. This is our server. This is our DB. So what happens whenever a user makes a request, it goes to the server, right? So let's suppose that it takes around 100 millisecond for this request. For Of course, for sending request it will take 100 millisecond, and for getting the response it will take 100 millisecond. So let's say that for sending request it take 100 millisecond. Then the server pass the query to the DB. It takes another, let's say, 10 milliseconds for the query, and for returning it takes another 10 milliseconds for returning the data from DB to the server, and from server to the user it takes another 100 millisecond, because this would be HTTP call, right? So it's expensive. So total timing that it took around is 220 millisecond for this whole operation, for just getting a single data from the DB. So here what we do, here we take advantage of caching. So what we do, we try to create a layer. We try to create like, let's suppose that a user has requested for the first time, so we try to store it in this local memory in the server. So let's suppose that here we will store the cache in the local memory of server, and from there itself we will return the data. So let me explain in more detail. So let's suppose that if similarly, let's suppose that this is the user, right? There is one more user like same. It queries the data for the same DB. So what we will do, we first what is similar user? So what I mean by similar user is, let's suppose that this user is interested in some sport, let's suppose cricket or something like that, and this user is also interested in sport, cricket. So what we'll do, we'll create a group of this type of similar users, and whenever the request comes to the server for this particular same type of user, we have the data in the cache, and we return the data from that cache to the user. So it we don't need to have this 10 millisecond operation for querying the database. So let's suppose that this will take around 1 millisecond to return from the cache. So this is reduced, right? So that will, this it will reduce approximately 19 millisecond from the whole operation. So that is the benefit of caches. There are different types of cache we can use. Okay, now there is this I talked about a server cache, right? Now there is one more type of cache. It is the device cache. So let's suppose that you have an Android application or iOS application. There is some storage in every device, right? So we can use that storage to cache some files or folders, or whatever images, data or text files or whatever. So we can store that in device. So even this operation won't take time. This 100 millisecond or 200 millisecond operation will also get reduced. So let's here we will have some local cache on the user device. So this will be some cache data. So like this static data which doesn't need to be refreshed, we will store it in the user device. So this time will get saved. So this will take around, this operation will take around I would say 1 millisecond. So the time latency is totally reduced. This 220 millisecond is totally reduced. But that depends whether your data is smaller, or is it in peta or terabytes. So that depends on it. So the point need to remember that cache reduces latency by using more storage. So whatever, if you have a device storage of, let's say, 256 GB, if you use around 1 GB, then of course your latency will get reduced, but the storage will get increased. So that is what I mean when I say that caching reduces latency by using more storage. So for applications, for smaller applications, we can of course use the DB cache. Like we can use the this app cache in the store application itself or the device itself. But for bigger applications, we cannot utilize much of the cache. There is some limit of it will reach, because the data is in tera or petabytes. So we cannot cache everything. But there is this cache evict policy that we need to implement. So one more thing that I want to highlight, that whenever you have this cache in place, let's say that our server has some cache, right? This is our server. This has the cache in local memory. So whatever this is, let's suppose this is the device, user device. Okay, user device. So what happens whenever the request comes to the server goes to the cache and gets the data and return to the user. But what happens with the write operations, right? Because we need the updated copy of the data in the database, right? So in that case, what happens? This write operation will implement on the cache, right? it will get updated, cache will get updated and it will return the data, but we need the updated copy in DB as well. So what we can do, either we have two options: we update immediately or we can update later. Like we can have a cron job which will get scheduled and which will update cache data in the DB once in a day at some particular time. So we can do these two options are available. Okay. Now, a cache evict policy. Let's suppose that we have allocated around 2 GB of this cache for our application on the server. So what happens if the data get exceed? So we need cache evict policy, right? Cache eviction policy. So there are many type of cache eviction policy, but the most famous are LRU, least recently used, and the second one is LFU, least frequently used. Okay, so these are the two cache eviction policy that are famous, but you can implement your own cache eviction policy as well. You just need to implement the logic on what data should be stored and what data should be evicted when the storage gets full or gets exceeded. So let's learn about what is drawbacks of cache. Okay, drawbacks of cache. So let's suppose that we are implementing LRU, least recently used policy on the for cache eviction policy, which means the data that is least recently used, we will evict that data. So now if we have a user device, this is the user device, we have a server, so our server, this is our cache. The the data that we have stored here is 1, 2 and 3. Let's suppose this is the array that we are storing right now, and this communicates with each other. This is our DB. Okay, now for the first time, if user requests for the data that is 1 comma 2 comma 3, it will get it from the cache and it will return it, right? Now for the second time, if user want the data for 2 comma 3 comma 4, it will go to the cache. It did not get it, so it's a cache miss. So this is known as cache miss. If you don't get the data from the cache, it goes to the DB. The request goes to the DB and provides the data from DB and store it in cache, right? So here we user is request on the second request, user is requesting for the fourth this 4 number, right? Now what it will do, this one is least recently used, it will remove this one from this data and it will store 4. So it will be around 2, 3, 4, and it will return the data, and it will store your data in the cache and it will return to the request to the user device. Now on the third time, if user wants 1 again, what we will do? So it will be 3, 4 and 1. This is what user want, but 1 is already removed as it was getting exceed, the data storage was getting exceeded. So 1 is already removed, so this is again a cache miss. So it will again go to the DB and again it will go to the DB and make a query, and from that query it will get the data and store in the cache. So 2 will be removed again, it will update with 3, 4 and 1. Okay, and 3, 4 and 1 will get so 3, 4, 1 will be as a response for this request and get to the user device, and this continues. Like if again if user want 4, 1 and 2, 2 is again not there in this data, so it is again a cache miss. So it will go to the DB, make a query and again store in the cache and return to the user request. So this is one drawback, that there are it depends on your cache policy whether your cache will be applicable for long run or not. So this depends on your cache policy. Second is this was the first. Second drawback is eventual consistency. So what happens if you have data in your cache, right? That data needs to be updated in the DB, right? But this update will happen at some time, right? We don't know when, because let's see let me just show you. This is the user device, this is our server again, this is our DB, this is our cache. Okay, your user device. So we updated this is the write operation request. We updated the data in the cache. That data will get updated in DB, but not immediately. It will get updated by a cron job or something. So we don't have the latest copy of the data in the DB. So that is also a drawback, that data will be updated, but eventually it will be updated at some time. So this consistency is not there in the data between cache and the DB. So there is this inconsistency. This affects a lot when you have a financial transaction, like you have be update, you have to get updated copy of data from the DB to other servers. Let's say that from one ATM you have took out some money, and then on the one server it got on the cache it got updated, but not on their main server, which is the DB server. So at other application like PhonePe or other whatever application that is fetching the data from their from your bank's DB, that data won't be updated, so that uh, there will be inconsistency. You won't get to see that what amount have been deducted or not. Okay, so that is there in financial transaction. This matters a lot. Now comes cache placement. So where can we place cache? Okay, so cache can be placed in three ways actually. First is of course in user device itself, using their local storage or whatever device storage they have. Second is server. Okay, on server we can have something like, on server we can have this cache on a server's local memory cache. Third is using a third party service like Redis, so we can have a service running on on the server, on another server or the same server, I would say, and we can use that as a cache. This is one, two, three, and fourth is of course the DB cache. So if you are aware of some database already has inbuilt cache, like if you run some create or some, not create, I would say the fetch query like select star or something like that. So SQL or some or SQL, Postgres or MongoDB, this kind of database have these view files which you can use for storing the cache, so that uh, in second time whenever you run this select star all query, that will get you data instantly. So that is also a type of cache that is on DB level. Okay, so most, so in many companies these all type of database cache are used. Basically some things are stored in the server, some things are stored in the device storage, like let's suppose this is a Flutter application, we have implemented the cache, so some data will be stored in the device, some data on the server side would be stored in Redis, so which requires some computation, and some data on this server like local variables or something like that, and some data on the DB which is already implemented. Now, what are benefits of cache? So it has various benefits. The first is, of course, it reduces network calls. First is this. Second is it avoids repeated computations. So as you can see that whenever you make a query to the DB, it requires some computation to fetch the data from the DB. So that computation is reduced because the data is stored in the cache layer. And now third is, of course, reduce database load. So the load on the database gets reduced, right? So load on the DB gets reduced a lot because we are storing everything in cache and we are returning the data from the cache. The load in on DB gets reduced. And these all things actually depends on your cache policy and the placement of cache, where you have placed the cache. Is it in the user device or you are using everything, right? So in major of the big companies, everything is used. They manage the cache on their own way. And there is one more type of cache you might be aware of, which are CDNs. So content delivery network. These are type of cache which are stored on the servers near to your location, and they stored this data on that server cache and return the data from that server itself. Netflix also utilizes cache very greatly actually. The instant movies that get loaded on the Netflix, that is because of the cache, good implementation of their cache policy. So that is, they store the entire movie in chunks, and they stream actually the data in chunks to the nearest CDN, nearest server that you have in your location, and then try to stream data to your device by cache, not from directly their server which is in Canada or USA. So that is also a good implementation. Yeah, thank you.